Ladies and gentlemen, let's get serious just for a moment. The nation is more polarized now than ever. People with different views aren't even willing to talk to each other anymore. We focus so much on our differences instead of our similarities. But there is one quality that we all have as Americans that brings us together, the glue that holds this nation together and defines what it means to be an American. And that trait is, we suck with money. Despite our differences, we are all awful with money, just unbelievably terrible with it. And it's everybody from the top down to the bottom up. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your grandma, your friends, your neighbor, and even your dog if your dog could spend money. Your cat would probably be good at money though. It's something that we all have in common. It's the one thing that isn't controversial in this country, something that we can all agree on. It's one of the core pillars of what it means to be an American, alongside McDonald's and The Bachelor. And despite what many articles say on the internet, I bet that most Americans' net worths are negative, not positive. Most Americans can't quite understand how to have a healthy relationship with money. And in this video, I want to share 4 reasons why Americans suck with money. And by understanding these reasons, I hope that it can help you have a better relationship with your finances, or at least entertain you. So let's begin. Number 1, the victim mentality. Now, if you're watching this and you're not from the United States, let me explain very quickly how things work here in a way that is so simple that even an elementary school student could understand. Now, in America, we have the boys and we have the girls. Now, the boys believe it's the girls' fault. They're perfect and a victim to what the girls have done. The girls, on the other hand, believe it's the boys' fault. They're perfect and a victim to what the boys have done. And every day, they go out on the playground and say, "It's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault." And instead of having a teacher step in and say, "It's both of y'all's fault. Detention for both of you. Recess is over," there is a bunch of members of each gender in the background egging it on and screaming and yelling. But in real life, instead of kids doing it, it's adults in their 60s that are doing it. In America, it is always someone else's fault. We are all just victims of someone else's doing, and we can't solve our own personal problems because we weren't the one who caused it. We have to get our team captain to come in and solve it for us. I think one thing that prevents many Americans from getting their finances under control is we play the victim card and say it's someone else's fault. We say things like gas prices are high, supply chains, inflation, I'm a victim. I am sick of it, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be the teacher and settle it right now. In every story, there are 3 sides: your side, my side, and the truth. And the truth is, when it comes to personal finance, it is your fault. Your team captain ain't gonna come in and save the day. Your team captain, you'll probably never even meet your team captain in your whole life. Nonetheless, get them to solve your problems. All your team captain cares about is keeping their job. You gotta be an adult in this world and not point fingers that it's someone else's fault, and solve your own problems. Number 2, a toxic work-life balance. When you compare our work culture here in the US to the work culture in other developed nations, you really see how toxic our work culture is. I mean, usually when you meet someone for the first time, you know their profession before you know their name. We obsess over our jobs to the point where it is extremely unhealthy. Work-life balance is non-existent here because even if you have a good job with decent pay and benefits, you probably only have 2 weeks off a year. Spend most of your day out of the house and then come home to check Microsoft Teams and emails. I remember at my last job, I would open up my computer in the morning and see emails from my coworkers at 3 in the morning. It was insane. But I think from elementary school, we're just pressured so much to find this career and do what we love that we genuinely can't see how toxic our work-life balance is. And with this toxic work-life balance, it comes with many toxic coping strategies because with this toxic work-life balance brings a lot of stress and anxiety in your life, and we cope with it by spending money, whether that's upgrading household items, seeking convenience, or playing hard. I think that there is a direct correlation with having an unhealthy work-life balance and having bad financial habits, because when you work yourself to death, the only way to justify it is by spending a lot of money. And no matter how passionate you are, or no matter how much you enjoy your job, you can't work all the time. You have to do things like establish boundaries and disconnect yourself from work. Find enjoyable activities not connected to work or making money, and slow down. You can't change culture. It is what it is, and I can't fix these grand scale problems that we have with having an unhealthy work-life balance. But you can make small decisions in your life to create a healthier work-life balance on a small scale. And when you choose to do that, you genuinely have a clearer mind. You have less stress and anxiety, and ultimately that leads you to having a healthier relationship with money. Number 3. We love to pay more for some reason. Now, you might have had an experience like this before where an everyday office worker that you know bought a nice new truck. And when they show you this new truck, they explain how it has 4-wheel drive, a giant truck bed, and hauling capabilities. And you look at them and say, "Are you planning on hauling things off-road?" And they say, "No, but it's cool, isn't it?" And people do this all the time. They pay more money on all these things that they will never use, on things like features they'll never use. Something simply because it has nice packaging or space that goes unused. So many of us Americans have the obsession of paying more for things when we don't have to, just spending money for the sake of spending money when we could have found something that is a lot cheaper and almost the exact same thing. So many of us spend so much money and pay more money because we want to feel special. But then we're quickly drove to the ground in debt and financial burdens, and this can be avoided as long as you do things like don't seek approval from others, take time to shop around, and don't get every feature of a product. People will literally waste so much money because they're perfectly happy and they're excited to pay more for something for some reason. But if you're just a little slightly more conscious with how you spend your money will go a lot further. Number 4, a general lack of contentment. Now let me ask you a question. Have you ever been shopping online for something very specific, something extremely specific, and you just couldn't seem to find it? Me neither. I have never had that problem. I've never been unable to find something, even if it's as specific as something as an elephant hat. The mere abundance in this country is incredible. The other night I was watching this Netflix special with a Malaysian comedian living in the United States named Ronnie Chang. And he did this bit about napkins and how in America we throw away more napkins than we actually use. We go to a restaurant, grab a handful of napkins, use a couple of them, and throw away the rest. We have so much abundance here that we waste 30 to 40% of our food supply. And you would think that in a country that literally has everything, the resources to get anything delivered to your house, that we would be the happiest people in the world, right? Well, the irony of abundance is that the more you chase it, the further you get away from being content. I mean, the definition of being content is being satisfied with present conditions. We're taught that chasing abundance leads to happiness and contentment, but this idea, this belief has created a society that just genuinely lacks contentment in their life, because the irony is, the more you chase abundance, the more debt and financial instability you get, which leads to lack of contentment in your life. We take on so much financial burdens for things that push us further and further away from contentment. You're not going to find contentment by reaching outward, but you're going to find it by doing things like being grateful for what you have, not comparing yourself to others, and learning to get pleasure from the simple things. A big trait of what it means to be American is to be a consumer and seek the finer things in life. One of the most common comments that I get from my videos that oppose what I say is that if everyone followed what you said and didn't live this highly consumeristic life, then the country and the economy would crash. And maybe that's right, I don't know. But that will never happen, because most Americans will suck with money for the rest of their lives. But if you choose to make small decisions in your life, to live a more simple life and just be more conscious of how you spend your money, then you'll suck slightly less with money. And with that, muchas gracias, que tenga un buen día. Video 114, boys, they rule. Ladies, nos vemos, chicos.